Hello, I'm Mary V. Today, let's talk about why mindset is so important to progress on the violin. So, it's not really a question of being positive or negative. It's the fact that when you need to examine your fingers or you're making changes on the violin, which we've got to do all the time, we've got to have this ability to examine ourselves. If we're doing it with a lot of frustration, lack of patience, and everything, those feelings actually attach themselves to the physical movement and they become a habit in themselves and they're incredibly unhelpful. Every time you pick up the violin, you may for no reason feel frustrated, angry, hopeless. All these things have actually become attached. And that's why mindset is incredibly important. Mindset is about having the relaxation to have some relaxed self-observation. So I think a better word than practice is experiment, so that there's a more open feeling and an excitement about trying this and trying that. It's a much better association. So be very careful about what you associate with the violin, because that can make a massive difference. For example, if you're trying out some new things with your left hand and you start thinking of the things that you used to do as bad stuff, the bad things that I was doing, that's incredibly unhelpful, because when we change when we try to examine our technique and change things, we have to go backwards and forwards from the old to the new a number of times until our new habit becomes established. So thinking about technique and habits that we have as bad and trying to overcome them just by sheer willpower is incredibly unhelpful, because it's not a question of bad and good. It's a question of old and new, really. In our minds, it's very, very easy to associate certain feelings with certain actions, and that is what happens to us as we practice. And we've got to be very careful that we don't associate and allow associations that are incredibly detrimental to us. For example, every time you pick up the violin, for some reason, you start getting depressed or upset, frustrated, or angry. It may be nothing to do with how you're practicing or what's actually happening, but it destroys your ability to really examine what you are doing. And that's the important thing. So we've got to be very neutral. We've got to be very patient and stay relaxed. It's usually impatience that causes us to get frustrated, angry. And every time we pick up the violin, we're in danger of feeling that. That gets in the way of our ability to really examine what's going on. And we've got to have this honesty and openness about what is really going on with our intonation, with our movements, with our bowing, everything. And that's the fastest way to make progress. So have a look at how you're feeling just by putting the violin under your chin. You start having feelings. And you've got to have a little think about that and say, look, why do I feel so bad? I don't want to practice, I'm rubbish. I'm scared to practice because in case I can't do my new things and I keep going back to the old things, and I'll never manage it. Well, those associations and those messages that you're giving to yourself are kind of hopeless, really, aren't they? You've got to have a can-do attitude, but you've got to stay very calm and you've got to be relaxed. Not only physically, but you've got to relax your mind. Because the main thing that you have to do when you practice is examine what's going on. You've got to be willing to slow it down and have a good look at what's going on. There's no other way to realize what you need to change. So think about the associations that you have with the violin. Do you love it? Do you love picking it up? Try to make it rewarding, and you can make it literally rewarding by giving yourself a nice cup of tea, a bit of chocolate, a biscuit, reward yourself. And don't judge it, just note it. Just say, every time I do that, I tighten up my thumb, or whatever. That's all it takes. That's all you need to do. You don't have to berate yourself and throw the violin on the bed like I used to do when I was 16. I got so frustrated about what I couldn't do. I would just fling the violin on the bed. So I realized it wasn't helping me, so I stopped that. And I developed an understanding that the only way to improve on the violin is through observation. And you've got to be in a good state for that. So I hope you learn to enjoy your experiments on the violin. Stay nice and relaxed and enjoy it. So I'll see you next time. Bye.